Hey guys, how are you doing today? I hope that you're doing amazing and fantastic and wonderful. I am very sorry if you can hear my husband's 3D printer in the background. I didn't realize that he was 3D printing, and he didn't realize that I planned on filming during our son's nap today. So hopefully you can't hear much of it. Today's video is all about my top 10 reads of 2021. Now, one of the things that I talked about in my 2021 in review, hello Cleo, how are you? You wanna come up here? Yes, of course. One of the things that I talked about in my 2021 review is the fact that I'm going to be a little bit more picky on what I give 5-star reads. Because apparently I gave 35-star reads last year, and then when I went to go pick out books for this specific video, I was like, no, I don't really, no, I wouldn't say that's my top 10. So I feel like the majority of the books that I rated 5 stars, I was like in my feels, but I wasn't really, you know, just really honing in on like what I felt about the book and the writing and like different things like that. So I did narrow it down to 10 books. I have 5 of them in my lap because I own the other 5 on my Kindle. Do I also own some of these that are in my lap on Kindle and maybe also in audiobook? Yes. This is a judgy-free zone, guys. Sometimes I order all 3 different types of ways to read a book. So that could also determine whether or not I find it a 5-star read. Did I purchase them in all 3 things before I even read them? Listen, we don't, semantics, right? Like we don't really have to like dive deeper into my obsession with purchasing books. So, all right, let's get started. These are not in any order at all. I'm not going with like my favorite all-time read because you can't make me pick out of all 10 of these which one's my absolute favorite. So let's go through the physical ones in my lap right now, and then we will dive deeper into the ones that I have on Kindle. So the first one I have is Bake, Borrow, and Steal by Ellie Alexander. This is book 14, I believe, in the Bake Shop Mystery series. I just absolutely love this series. It will probably always be a 5-star for me. There is, once you're in a series for 14 books, you have a connection to the characters and the world and the writing style that for me just can't be replaced or diminished. So this is all about Jules and her bakery. Tort have been given the unique opportunity to be able to create goods for SOMA, the Southern Oregon Museum of Arts, and they're getting in a very rare Shakespearean lost piece, and they're having a huge gala for the exhibit. And so Jules and her whole entire gang are sort of you know, given the opportunity to create chocolate pieces that look like a desk that would be from the Shakespearean times, and create meals from recipes of the Shakespearean time. And it's very, very cool. I loved the museum element of it because I have a background in museums, and so I really enjoyed that aspect. Someone has in this book, they have created a heist of the Shakespearean play, the Lost Play, and it is up to Jules and her team and Andy and the professor to figure it out. There have been deaths as well. Bum bum bum. It's really good. I love it, really enjoyed it. The next book I have is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This was my first classic that I have read since I was forced to read classics in school, and I read it with Ellery Adams, and I think that this is one of my favorites because, one, It's beautifully written. I really enjoy the characters, Darcy, and just all of it. I love it. But Ellery and I both dressed up as Regency ladies, and we did a live stream talking about this, and I really enjoyed that. It'll be a memory that I cherish forever, and so I had to talk about this one. The next book I have is The Guncle. I had a Guncle growing up, and I love this book. It reminded me of him, and it just made me laugh and cry, and I couldn't put it down. So our main character is sort of like a washed up actor, and he has to come home because his brother's wife has passed away, and it was sudden, and his brother's wife actually was his best friend, and they have 2 kids, and his brother calls him back and asks him for the unthinkable. Can he take care of the kids while his brother goes to rehab? This is about family. This is about accepting yourself, accepting your own biases and your own critiques of yourself, and I absolutely I would reread this all over again. I loved it so freaking much. The next book I have is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I love Simone St. James. You'll see in one of my videos coming out my pre-orders for 2022. I already have her newest book pre-ordered. There's just something awesome about how she writes in 2 different perspectives, 2 different timelines, which is like an Achilles heel for me. Like, I have a huge weakness for that type of writing, and she does it so well that I keep going back to her. My first book of hers that I read was The Broken Girls, loved it. Sundown Motel, loved it. I think the next one is The Case Files or something like that. I'm going to read it anyway. It says, something has not been right at the roadside Sundown Motel for a very long time, and Carly Kirk is about to find out why. It goes back and forth between upstate New York, 1982, and upstate New York, 2017. Carly Kirk is trying to figure out what happened to her aunt, who disappeared. And it was a page turner. I loved it so freaking much. The last book that I own physically that I couldn't put down, and I know that it turned the sci-fi world upside down, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I have read everything by Andy Weir. I would say it goes Project Hail Mary, The Martian, and then Artemis. Artemis is my least favorite of all of his books, but Project Hail Mary, it is something's happening to the earth, and it all rests on the shoulders of our main character to save it. That's all I'm going to tell you, because you can't have anything else, and I'm not going to spoil anything else. You can read the inside of the dust jacket, but I actually recommend not doing it. I recommend going in blind. This is my, okay, I will say it. It's my favorite read of 2021. Hands down. It is so good. I cannot recommend it enough. All right, while that is precariously behind me, let's, what else do I have? Okay, so one of my favorite reads is one of the last reads that I had in 2021, and that is Burden of Poof by Julianne Lindsay. This is her new Bonnie and Clyde series, and I absolutely love it. There's just something about the way that Julianne Lindsay writes that can really evoke emotion in me. I start crying, I get chills, I become extremely attached to all of the characters, and I have all of her backlist to catch up on. And there are going to be 8 in this series. There are 4 out right now. I'm reading book 2, which is 7 Deadly Sequins. But basically our main character is going through a very nasty divorce. She has moved back home and has started her own sort of like thrift shop for dresses and clothes and high-end items that she wants to make affordable for people and even teenagers like her. She also, her name is Bonnie, her cat is named Clyde, and he is a black cat, and he is feisty and he is weird, and I absolutely love it. They live in a small town that loves luck and does not like bad luck. I feel like there's going to be magical elements within this series, but I loved it so much and I teared up that I had to give it a 5 out of 5. It was so good. The next book I have is Renewed for Murder. This is book 6 in the Blue Ridge Library series by Victoria Gilbert. It is just, it's one of my absolute favorite cozies in the fact that she's very, very good at tying the past of her characters in with the present mystery that's going on, and I really, really appreciate that. Like I said, I love it when we have flashbacks or even a mystery within a mystery, and Victoria Gilbert is very, very good at creating those elements within a cozy, which is very, very hard because cozy mysteries have a formula and it's very difficult to be able to incorporate new elements within that formula without straying away from what cozy mysteries are in general. So I appreciate that very much. The next book I have is a nonfiction book by John Green. It's called The Anthropocene Reviewed. I listened to this on Libro FM, and I absolutely adore the Green brothers. They are wonderful, but I really, really loved the fact that John Green was able to wear his emotions on his sleeve. Each chapter, it has a specific theme or element or subject that deals with the human nature as it is. We have things that made me cry, we had things that make me laugh out loud. I really, really, really enjoyed it in general. I just loved the flow of it. It was very, very easy to listen to and to keep up with, and I just enjoyed it a lot. And the next thing was actually my first read of 2021, and it is Just One Damned Thing After Another. This is the first in the Chronicles of Mary series by Jodi Taylor. It's fiction, fantasy, historical science fiction. It's very adventurous and lighthearted and very fast-paced. I loved it. I want to continue in this series. They're just chunkers. This book was 416 pages. It also made me cry. We follow our main character who has learned that there is a way to try time travel and that other people have learned how to do it, and we have to stop them from ruining the past or changing the future. And so I loved that so freaking much. And last but certainly not least, speaking of sci-fi, I really, really enjoyed this e-arc that I got on NetGalley. It is a YA science fiction book called Stowaway by John David Anderson. It is adventurous and fast-paced. It is about these boys who find out with their dad that the world is starting to end. We have depleted the world of these nutrients that it needs, and so they have been chosen along with others to be a part of this new society where these aliens have come and visited, and sort of all hell breaks loose, and it was a lot of fun. I have the next one. I am ready for it to come out so that I can dive into it. It was just really, really good, and I enjoyed it. So those were my top 10 books of 2021. What do you think? Did you love them? Did you hate them? I love the fact that reading is so subjective, that I can have a book that was my absolute favorite and you could have a book that you hated, and they could be both the same thing. It's one of the best things about reading. Let me know, what was your favorite book of all time for last year? I really want to know. Tell me why. But that's the end of this chapter of Courtagonist. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, happy reading.